So there's never a bad day to talk to Frank Thomas, but we come to you with the somber news of Henry Aaron passing away. And Frank, when you were born, Hank Aaron was in the middle of 14 straight years as an all-star.
Mhm.
I mean, when when did you first become aware of Hank Aaron?
You know what's funny? I have a 4-year-old son right now, and he's wise beyond his years. Like he's 4 going on 15. He understands everything. And I felt that in myself when I was younger, like 5 years old. I kind of felt the significance because my parents, my uncles, they were all like sport people. And, on the weekends, that's all we did was sports. We watched sports together. And I remember in 74, I was a baby, almost 6, and they went crazy when Hank Aaron broke the home run record. And that's when I was really aware who Hank Aaron was. It was like tears of joy, like their savior had happened because he meant so much to the state of Georgia and the African-American community. It was like he was a rock star among rock stars. To break the record he did of Babe Ruth with humility, very humble person, just a class act, man. I mean, he was in a lot of duress and stress, but never stopped smiling, always said the right things, and always just did all the right things. And it was an easy person to idolize. And to this day, I idolize him as an adult because, he meant so much to my family, my community, the state of Georgia. So it was Hank Aaron, just like Michael Jordan did to the city of Chicago. I mean, that's the effect Hank Aaron had in my early years growing up.
I was going to ask you, what do you remember about that day? I mean, you're describing this moment when you're so young and you're looking around and you kind of know what's going on, but not really. What do you take from that day with 715?
It was like it was a family party, and my uncles, like, they were nuts about sports. They talk sports 24/7. My dad loved sports, but not as much as my uncles. My uncles were like berserk when it came to sports, but we always sat down and watched and talk football, basketball, baseball, wherever it was. Sports was big in my household. And I remember that day, it was very joyful. It became a party, and it lasted for a long time. I mean, because it was the topic of conversation, and you could just see the smiles and the tears of joy for my family.
When did you first meet Hank Aaron?
That's a loaded question because I saw him like 3 or 4 times from a distance, but I could never get close enough in the state of Georgia. I first met him, I think it was my second MVP award. And back then they held it was in Orlando, I think, and he was there with the commissioner. So I got to meet him briefly there, but it made my life because I remember shaking to shake his hand. Not many men that I'm starstruck about, and Hank Aaron was definitely one. Every time I met him, I just didn't know what to say. It became a joke at the Hall of Fame because everybody's like, "There's Hank," and I'm like, "Oh man!" And his wife Billy, she's the sweetest lady ever, and she knows. So she's all right. Thomas, get over here. So she could feel me shaking the first couple of times. So just a great man. He meant so much to me. And with all the things that went over the past 20 years, he was always humble, always smiled, never disrespected anyone. Just a total class act.
There are a couple things you said I want to ask about, but first, I mean, normally that says so much. You were starstruck multiple times after meeting him. That normally goes away after one encounter, but you had it over and over again with him. What does that say to you?
Because I remember as a 5-year-old how he touched my family, my whole state, the whole community. I mean, it was Hank Aaron Day. It was Hank Aaron everything, Hank Aaron Parade. It was unbelievable. And that's something as a kid, when you remember that type of thing, it sticks with you the rest of your life. I'm just grateful that I got to meet him and meet him multiple times. I had conversations with him. And I just remember last time I saw him, we were at the Hall of Fame. Actually, that wasn't the last time I saw him, but the last time I saw him at the Hall of Fame, I had my whole family with me. And we were able to take pictures, and my kids were around him, and they knew what he meant to me. So they had the biggest smiles on their face, and he's such a great man with kids. But just a great person. I was just really stunned this morning because I just saw him on TV a few weeks ago, and he looked great. You just never know when something like this happens. It's unreal.
What did you talk about with him when you did talk to him?
Baseball. We love baseball, hitting, using the whole field. I mean, that's why I use the whole field so much. growing up, like my dad said, I'll be honest with you. The funniest thing I want to tell you is I won a 1993 MVP, and my father, who's no longer with me, was the biggest Hank Aaron fan. He said, "Son, you're playing really well, but you're still not Hank Aaron." And that will stick with you the rest of your life. And I looked at him and said, "You're right. I'm not. You know, he's the greatest to ever do it. I only wish my career can be as big as Hank Aaron." And he was one of those generation heroes that I strive to be like a Hank Aaron.
I want to talk about him off the field as well. But first, you said you had seen him from a distance 3 or 4 times. Where were those times that you had?
In Atlanta. In Atlanta. You know, because I became a player and I started on the U.S. Olympic team. We stopped for Atlanta. You know, we did a lot of things. I got close enough, but it was always like, oh, man, it was like a rock star. I always got nervous. I really got nervous around him because you talk on a model of consistency. To play and put up the numbers he did was 23 years. It's amazing, man. I molded my career to being consistent. And that one thing about Hank Aaron, he's very consistent every year. My dad used to say, he didn't hit him that far, but he hit him all the time. So it was one of those things that, you know, we really watched as a family, and I got to watch it. So as a baby, I got to watch him as I got older, and just to watch him through the years become who he was. Not off the field, one of the greatest businessmen ever, African-American businessman we've ever seen in the state of Georgia and in the city of Atlanta. So just dignity, man. When you talk about kings of kings, he was a king for me.
Like with so much history, we see the highlights and we see the sports moments, but we don't talk nearly as much about the context going on around that situation. Hank Aaron was receiving death threats on a daily basis when he was chasing Babe Ruth's record. And he considers Jackie Robinson, Hank Aaron did, as one of his people who he patterned himself after. What did Hank Aaron mean in terms of the Black community in sports and the civil rights movement to you?
Well, it started with Jackie. And just like you said, you heard from Hank that he idolized Jackie to go through all that. But besides Jackie, no one went through that but Hank Aaron. You know, the death threats and you better not show up tomorrow or we're going to kill you. Or, you know, he went through that and he never snapped. He always held it with dignity and a big smile. He was alert about it. But, man, to do what he did and break that record under those circumstances, I mean, my hat will always be off to him and Jackie Robinson, what they did for the game of baseball for the African-American player.
What do people need to know about what was inside Hank Aaron?
I would just say someone who wanted to achieve from a humble background, got into the game, didn't want much, just wanted to play baseball. And as things went along, he realized what he was doing, but he stayed true to his values of just being consistent, being a humble person, full of humility, and great things happened for him. I mean, you're talking about to the age of 86, everybody still looked at him as a king. I mean, you watch all the record around the TVs today, and it's just like, Hank Aaron was that guy. He was that guy. He was a king of all kings. And I'll be honest, watching Barry Bonds break his record, for him to be there that night of him breaking the record with all the things that have been said and all the PED noise and all the blah, 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 Hank just smiled and said, "You're the home run king now." You know, and that just, it showed the type of man he was. He was a true soldier for everybody. He loved people. And he respected the game of baseball. There won't be another great ambassador. I mean, we lost 2 of the greatest ambassadors in the last 2 weeks, him and Tommy Lasorda. I mean, I got to be around both of those guys, and no one bled baseball like those 2 guys.
When you step back for a second and you think about, I mean, I hear you talking about being a 6-year-old or so and having this huge moment for your family. And to the day he passes away, you're a friend of Hank Aaron's. I mean, where does that hit you in the heart?
It hits me because, as I told you before we started this, you think some heroes would never leave this earth. You think they'll be here forever. And today I was just stunned. I was really speechless because I was on the phone with Guffey, and I just couldn't believe he said Hank Aaron. I said, "What about Hank Aaron?" And he said, "You haven't heard yet." I said, "What?" And instantly I'm going, "Oh my God, Hank's passed away." And we've lost 9 great Hall of Famers in what, a year's time, basically. It's been a rough year for the Hall of Fame. It really has. And going to the Hall of Fame for my next time, it's going to be weird with all those faces not there. Because I got to really meet and hang out with these guys and really talk about the game, where it's at now. it's going to be a tough one. I mean, I lost some great ones. Him and Phil Negro, two of my Braves heroes in the same year, passed away. It's rough, man. It really is. And Dunson. You know, I known those guys, you know, through the Braves. You know what I'm saying? As a kid growing up, and now they all passed in the same year. It's a tough year. It
As
really
you're
is.
saying that, I'm thinking you just never lose. You never lose that attachment to your heroes when
No,
you're a kid.
no. I know kids are attached to me as what I did for the White Sox, but I'm that attached to those guys what they did for my Atlanta Braves when I was a kid. And to meet them in the Hall of Fame, to hang out, have a beer with them, and talk baseball, I mean, it's priceless. And I'm always going to remember those guys.
So I have to say, 2016, my first Sox Fest, I was walking through and you said, "Hey, Jason." And I looked and it was you. And I was like, wait a sec. He knows my name?
Yes, because I
Wow.
watch you. I'm a sports fanatic. I've seen you do basketball. I've seen you do some football. I've seen you do everything. You're a great commentator, and I knew who you were.
I feel about you like the people you're talking about, who you grew up with. So it's always a treat to get to talk. And before we go, I want to ask about Hanging with Hurt. How's the show going?
It's going well. Like I said, it's just off the ground. NBC Sports Chicago, you know, they want to try something different. I'm definitely a man for it because I want to touch all sports and just get to know guys a little differently than a normal interview because I want guys to open up and have fun because they know I'm one of them and not really a big part of the media. I'm just one of them that want to have some fun and talk about sports, talk about life. And that's what I'm doing right now. And I hope to accomplish a lot with it because guys have seen it be open. Our next interview is Bo Jackson, and you're going to love it because I don't think people have seen Bo in this nature before. But I have in the locker room and other times. He has a big personality, and you're going to see it on the next episode of Hang With Her.
What else will people get as they watch the show? Like if they haven't tuned in, what are they going to see?
Oh, you can do all sports. I mean, we're going to do basketball, we're going to do football, we're going to do baseball. We're going to do hockey. We're going to do golf. I got some things lined up. It's going to be a lot of fun. It's going to build as we go on from week to week because I'm indebted to this thing of having this situation because I've always wanted to do something different and doing interviews with some of my heroes that are still playing and guys that I look idolize now who I would never say I idolize, but there's a lot of great talent out there that I got nothing but respect for, and I love to have them hang with her.
In the off season, do you and Ozzy call Chuck and yell at him?
Ozzy and I want to have Ozzy on an episode. We've already talked about it, but I want to get him in the studio because we can do our full thing right next to each other and just ad lib and just go because we have so much fun when we're right next to each other because we think alike. We spend almost 12 years together. So we know each other very well.
Hey, if you have Ozzy on, what's your time slot? 3.5 hours?
That might be my first hour show because 30 minutes is not enough with Ozzy.
Where and when can people see the show if they haven't seen it?
Well, it's on NBC Sports Chicago. We're doing it bi-weekly. We're going to advertise now going forward. We'll have throughout the week, you'll see the clips that is coming up on certain nights. We're trying Monday night. We're trying Wednesday night, but they haven't decided which one is better for the show. And we're trying to do it in front of Bulls games or whatever's happening locally because it's definitely something to see. And I've been lucky so far to get 8+ guests on that everyone's familiar with. So it's still a work in progress, but it's a fun progress. And we still got 9 more episodes.
The clips I've seen are great. I know it's just going to grow from there. And hey, Frank, I know it's been a tough day for you.
Yes,
I know we've lost a lot of people around baseball over the past bunch of weeks, but thank you so much for sharing your stories about Hank Aaron today.
Thank you, Jason. Thank you for having me because this guy has meant so much for my life. And God bless him and his wife, Billy, because they're classy people and the rest of the Aaron family. So thank you for having me, Jason.